Hey, tonight I'm starting it off early. There's my co-host, the beautiful Tamara Brown. And we have also two beautiful ladies that are getting ready to tell us what it is that they do. Tamara first, how are you?
Hi, good evening. Running as usual. Thank you so much for everyone for being on. We have Michelle Bond from Bottoms Up Bagels. I'm really excited to hear about her business. We have our state delegate, Regina T. Boyce. How exciting. We've got another restaurant owner that just called me from Kepper's Kitchen. She's running a little late as we, have so much going on. So she'll be on with us shortly. So I wanted to get started. We're wrapping up Pride Month and Caribbean Heritage Month, and just so much excitement going on this month. And this is like the first year since last year that we've been out to celebrate all these things. So it's great to have representation from so many different parts of the city. So without further ado, we'll have Delegate Regina Boyce talk about her district and introduce one of her district restaurants.
Absolutely. Thanks, Tamara. Thanks, Nicole. Regina T. Boyce, a first-term newly elected state delegate in the 43rd District. And just to give you a frame of reference, it's essentially North Avenue to the county city line. If you take Greenmount all the way up to York, Hartford Road, cutting a little around through the Jones Falls and then up Charles Street. So this is my third year, my first term heading into re-election. I live in the Waverly community. I've been here for 17 years this month. When I bought a house, I know, Michelle, 17 years. And it's my little oasis. I always say it's the best place to live. And Michelle's going to agree because she's also my neighbor. I'm in the middle of everything. I can get up north quickly. I can get down east, further east, south easily. I can walk everywhere. I can bike everywhere. Most importantly, when I don't have a car, sometimes I can jump on a bus. The bus always gets me to where I need to go. A lot of amenities, we've got parks, we've got the lake, we've got businesses, we've got two major main streets, at least in the 43rd District, Waverly Main Street, of course. And we have the Laurelville Hamilton Main Street. And so, there's a lot to do. There's a lot of amenities. I always say if in the 43rd District, it's something for everybody. The further north you go, the more, and east, you have a lot of like the suburban feel, urban feel, single family homes. And then you've got like more south of the district where if you want like city living, you want pavement, you like that kind of grind. We've got that too. So we got a little bit of everything. 4 major institutions. We have Johns Hopkins University. Of course, we've got, and I have to say it this way, the illustrious national treasure, historical HBCU Morgan State, which I'm always bigging up, Loyola College, as well as Notre Dame. And so it's just very, not only in people, I always say in housing stock, and what you can get. It's such a variety in the 43rd District, which I think makes it very special. And without further ado, I want to introduce you to one of two individuals that I know and love, and why the 43rd District is very special. So the first is not only my neighbor, but colleague and woman business owner on Greenmount Avenue, Michelle Bond, and her partner own and manage Bottoms Up Bagel, and I'll let her take it away.
All right, thank you so much, Regina, and thanks, Tamara and Nicole. And hi there, Torette.
Hey.
Excited to see everybody. We all go back to Waverly Main Street time together. So we've all been invested in the area for quite a while. As Regina mentioned, we are named. So I live in Waverly. Been there 14 years, so not too far behind you. And really decided to make a home there for all the reasons that Regina mentioned. Its location, its access to different types of communities, not having everything be perfect yet, being a part of figuring out what that is with everybody who's here. And part of that for us, is certainly the business piece. Bottoms Up Bagels started almost 6 years ago as a pop-up based business that launched right at the Waverly Farmers Market. So a gem, 40 years, I think. The Waverly Farmers Market is celebrating, 32nd Street Farmers Market is celebrating this year. And so we launched there in 2015 at the first ever Waverly pop-up mart that was put together by Waverly Main Street as a way to get, folks who weren't even really businesses yet, who had hobbies, who had crafts, who had things that they were making out of their homes, to give them a place to showcase them as both a way to see, if there was community interest, but also to bring something for, that small business Saturday that's every year right after Thanksgiving, to give folks a reason to come to the Waverly area and bring some of that, excitement that's always at the Waverly Farmers Market up into the Greenmount corridor. And that's really been the focus of Waverly Main Street, but that's also been kind of our vision too, as we were looking for a home for Bottoms Up Bagels. So we spent the last, 5+ years working out of our home, and then various community kitchens. We use the 29th Street Community Center with the help of Regina back in the day, getting to utilize that space. We spent some time over in Guardian Angel Church in Remington. So as we grew, we were really looking to connect with different communities and doing that. And then just last year, right in the middle of COVID, we launched our brick and mortar on Greenmount Ave, 2731 Greenmount Avenue. And that was the first time we were really able to bring the vision of this bagel shop that, we had been replicating kind of at farmers markets and pop-ups to, its own brick and mortar, where people could come in 4 or 5 days a week and get what we make. And what we make are all scratch made items, hand rolled bagels, New Jersey style. Both my partner and I are originally from New Jersey, been in Baltimore now almost 20 years, but you gotta big up the bagel credit. So we've got some credibility there. And we cure our own lox. We make made to order breakfast and lunch sandwiches. We do catering for small and large events, and excited to see some of that coming back now with COVID a little bit more under control. We do wholesale to other area cafes and restaurants, and individual delivery, which obviously was a lifesaver during COVID. Our customers really came out to support us in that way and kept us going for a long time. We've had people who've never missed a week since we launched our delivery service back in March of 2020. So, all those things just make us excited for what's next and to be a part of it. We're down at just south of 28th Street on Greenmount Avenue, and right across from the Harwood Community Garden, which is a beautiful community cultivated space, and right next to some artists and musician studios. And you mentioned Pride. We've partnered with Baltimore Safe Haven and a couple of local artists for Black Trans Lives Matter kind of painting across our windows that we did at the end of May. My partner and I actually feel really strongly. We're both queer women too, and we just feel like we owe a lot of our freedoms to the hard lives that other folks have had. And so it was really important for us to just say where we stand and what we stand for. And we've had a wonderful response, and it's been a great way to also get a little bit deeper relationship with the folks at Safe Havens who provide much needed resources and support to folks in the trans community, in the Black trans community specifically, who have had to rely on a lot of survival work. And so giving them not only basic needs, but also just a chance that we all should have to have a higher quality of life. So that was a lot, but I just tried to
thanks, Michelle.
touch on all the aspects of what we're working on.
Thank you.
So are you open all day, or is it just like morning hours?
So we're mainly morning. I mean, we do breakfast and lunch. So we're open 7:30 to 1:30 during the week. And then on the weekends, Saturday 8 to 2 and Sunday 9 to 1. So, and it's interesting. When we first opened, it was mainly breakfast, but we are starting to get more of a lunch crowd now, and we have some outdoor seating and all that. So, yeah.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful introduction. We'll let Regina introduce the next business owner, and then we'll just ask some general questions about doing business in the district. And then we'll let you all go, and we'll dig into Regina to get into politics that I know you don't want to hear.
Thank you so much. And what I also love about being a delegate is, because I've been here for so long, I've got very deep-seated relationships, right? Like Michelle is my neighbor, and we were on the board together. So you know people, right? Like people, and so you can always either help guide or you can really vouch for somebody. And and I'm glad we're going to get into a conversation about businesses, because what you heard her say is she started at the farmers market in 2015, and as of last year, she just got her brick and mortar. So we're going to put a pin in that, and hopefully we can dive into that. But the next business, another powerful woman on Waverly Main Street, is Tarette Thomas, who is a classically trained chef at Caparis Kitchen, which is on East 31st Street. It is one of the best, tiniest, most loving, most delicious spaces you'll ever meet. And every time I took someone there, they were like, I didn't know. And it's just like, yeah, but now I'm telling you. And if you'll never have a bad meal, and you always want to lick the plate, but you got manners, so you got to get it together. Everything is made to order. I always like to say she makes her own sauces, she makes her own crackers to a degree. If you're, a vegan or vegetarian or gluten-free, the gluten-free pancakes, people more often than not who aren't gluten get those pancakes, because like I say, you eat every piece of it. And so it is my honor to introduce another pretty much badass woman business owner, Tarette Thomas.
Oh my goodness. Thank you so much. To my favorite delegate, of course, Delegate Boyce, thank you so much for the invitation and the opportunity to share my story, and just to say a little bit of what I do. Caparis Kitchen is actually an elite chef service. I started Caparis Kitchen in 2016 using my personal savings, and somewhat, I would say, lucked up to get my brick and mortar on 31st Street in the Waverly community. Specifically, I personalize the creation of great food for individuals and organizations that truly want to have the best, eating experience that they can have. All my food is scratch made. Certainly, as Michelle pointed out about what she does, and that makes a difference. Specifically now, I'm doing meal prep services, private catering, and private culinary instruction. Prior to COVID, yes, I operated a weekend only brunch on Saturday and Sunday. Again, that was just on a humble. I said, if I cook it, I think people would come, and they certainly did. And the community in Waverly and Able and Oakenshaw, all of these diverse individuals got my concept, where the space is small, the seating is communal, and you experience me in the kitchen, because I am the chef as well as the owner. So you could watch me cook and prepare right in front of you. We had wonderful music to fulfill the vibe overall, the atmosphere. And so I'm doing something that I absolutely love, and that's my passion. I am currently only open right now for dine-in experiences by appointment only. And because during COVID, I certainly had to increase my caregiving duties. I have a wonderful grandmother who has always supported me, but she's 97 years old. And so, and she's still pretty much independent living at home, but I prepare all of her meals and take care of her. So the flexibility now in me doing more of what the Capera's private dine-in experience is the vision that I'm moving more towards. But certainly, you know, I love what I do. I'm a foodie at heart, and I wanted to change the narrative of what it means to be a Black food entrepreneur in the city. And I'm also interested in community, and I have deep, a deep love for, social activism. And so I just think it just happened to be a natural fit to be a part of Waverly. I actually live about 10 minutes away from my building in Waverly, and so I love the community. I live here in Goldman's, but I can cook anything, and I and then my clients and certainly they tell me that they enjoy it. So
Well, I'm going
that's
to
what
be
I'm
trying
doing.
that out. I think you've been holding out on me, Regina, so I'm definitely gonna try that out.
Well, I was always told I was the best kept secret in Baltimore as it relates to certainly brunch and being a small restaurateur, and but the feedback and love has always been greatly appreciated.
Okay, so to make reservations for sit-in, that's the number that you call, and we have your information. So we did
Yes.
have a question for Michelle, and I'm going to open it up to both of you. Do you feel that Baltimore City is business friendly, particularly for women? How do you feel, the city in general, support wise, supports your business, and not so much the people, but have you needed any resources in itself from the city, and how easy was it for you to open that brick and mortar business?
You want to? You want me to get?
Go ahead. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I would say there's still a lot to be done. Certainly from being a Black-owned business, as I said earlier, I self-funded. And so I took my personal savings to invest and bet on myself. And unfortunately, the resources that are available, I had to really seek out. So it was somewhat difficult starting out, but I sought small business programs. So I'm alumni of Operation Hope, where I got some of the skill sets to help me write my business plan. It gave me that accountability, certainly to be a little bit more business minded and focused. During COVID, I sought out resources. So I am also an alumni of the Inner City Capital Connections program. So I started to understand better the funding sources that were available to small businesses. And I do have to give a shout out to Visit Baltimore, because they have been instrumental in getting the word out about Capera's Kitchen, certainly through their resources and in highlighting what I do, and certainly promoting and using my services. So I'm grateful, but I think there's still the inequities and challenges that exist for women in Black-owned businesses in particular, to get the funding and support that's needed to really sustain, growth.
Michelle, did you want to chime in any?
Sure. I mean, I would agree. I think it's a very, it's not easy at all. I mean,
Yeah.
it's an uphill slog. And similarly, I mean, we bootstrapped everything ourselves, particularly in the beginning, and have just kind of just put it back in the business. And, I think it's a challenge for, women especially to just have a seat at the right tables. And we've had a lot of wonderful colleagues in the food space. I mean, we've talked, Tarette and I have talked from time to time, but it's all self-made and self-driven and just kept up with. And I will say that we've had some support from the Baltimore Development Corporation and Central Baltimore Partnership, who were really instrumental in helping us, get into a home eventually. But we searched for a long time, and we searched for 3 years, really trying to find a developer. First of all, a female or minority developer, which is like impossible. And then, and also then just someone who would understand what our needs and our vision was. And that we really, to be like, I think, a community focused, to still be a for-profit entity, but to be a community focused, to see food as a vocation that brings people together, over, a quick flip business model is not something that everyone is interested in supporting. And I feel like even in just the year since we've been in business, that the community of makers made in Baltimore, and people that you can get in touch with through these programs has come a long way. We've been lucky. I was a part of the 10,000 Small Businesses program, which has put a huge focus on businesses of color and women-owned businesses, and kind of gives you the right skills and language to be able to sit down with like a BDC and have your ducks in a row and be able to advocate for yourself. But there is just a lot more that needs to be done. And I think, our tendency, as women, is just to put our heads down and just keep going. And that's not always the fastest way to get there. And so I think looking up and trying to be better about seeing what resources are out there, but then also knowing when things aren't working. I mean, we were at Be More Kitchen, which was intended to be a food incubator up in Govans. And the incubation part really quickly kind of fell by the wayside. And, that was a challenge, because you think you're getting one thing and you're getting something else. And I think everybody there, and particularly the women-owned businesses in that place, you really need to kind of okay, what can I get from this? What can I learn? And what can I use to build on? And I think that's the case with a lot of even very well-intentioned programs that are out there. So it's just, I think, an extra level of effort.
Thank you for that. Nicole, did you have any questions I did have one question for Michelle, because there's a rumor that there is a no carb, no calorie bagel. I'm just wondering, do you have that available at Bottoms Up? Because
0, it's actually negative calorie is what it is.
It is
it's like celery, like when you. Okay.
All right. I was just okay. All right.
I need a gluten-free bagel though, Michelle.
I know we're working on it.
I know.
It's gotta
That's
be
what
good.
I want.
That's the thing. We have them, but they're not good. So
yeah,
I
tried some around town, and I was like,
yeah.
Nicole, did you have any questions for the business owners before we let these busy ladies go?
No, but I feel their sentiments. It is definitely very stressful. Opening up a brick and mortar, it's a lot different than running a home-based business. And the sad part is that now I'm opening my second location in Baltimore County, and it's a significant difference between for administration, the city versus the county. So, and I'm highlighting those differences because it is, and it's sad. It really is sad. So, but good luck to both of you ladies. I do hope to venture down and across. Looks like down and across. Yeah, to come and get a bagel.
When I say hope, we're inviting you, Nicole. We're inviting you anytime.
Yeah, well, I want, I like to eat. My problem is I'm not a foodie that cook. I like to eat.
Yeah, so I have a challenge though for Pepper's Kitchen, because Councilman Burnett came on, and he had his restaurant. What was it, Mom? I forget the name of the restaurant, but I mean, I had
the fish.
He was bragging, Regina. Yeah. So I think we should do like a district challenge, because all these good restaurants everyone's bringing on, and I think we need to have a challenge.
I mean, between Tamara's Kitchen and Bob's Up Bagel, I mean, I think we can just tear anybody down.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just going to put it out there. I think we have the best food and the local grown food. I'm just saying. Yeah.
I'm gonna do a test, and I'm gonna end this. I'm gonna make sure I test everything. But I'm definitely coming to get some bagels.
We appreciate a neutral.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Well, and we'll
get a bagel. You need to get bagel and bagel sandwich, because there's the bagel and then there's the bagel sandwich. They're two different experiences.
That is true.
I'm just saying.
Oh, so you have like so it's not just the bagel like with cream cheese. So it's actually like sandwiches too.
Oh, we got all kinds of we've got all kinds of things.
Like a sandwich.
And we do what we smoke all our own. We make our own sausage in house. We smoke all our own meats. We do, we roast. There's no like cold cuts. It's like all roasted stuff. So yeah.
Oh wow.
Scratch made, it always tastes better.
Didn't I bring on the
scratch made? Always tastes better.
Yeah.
And I think I've been told I have the best shrimp and grits and salmon and grits in town.
Yes,
that's what we're gonna taste.
And I don't put sugar in my grits. I come from the school of cheese. I'm sorry.
That's what I started to say. Cheese only.
Cheese only. Cheese only.
Oh man, I can feel the 20 pounds.
And I love when you go there and you split the.
But I do cook,
and it's not.
I do cook healthy as well.
Oh wow!
Thank you so much for taking time out of your business, taking time out of your busy schedule just to come on the show. Again, for our viewers, Bottoms Up Bagel, breakfast and lunch, and Kepper's Kitchen. You got to make an appointment to come and eat in, but food prepping, which I also need someone to do, so I'm glad you do that.
And I offer 3 gourmet plans, so you can select what you like.
Thank you.
And then I customize it. So.
Thank you. Amen. No sugar and grits, one of our viewers. Yes, thank you. Okay. Have a good evening, ladies. We're going to get into some politics with your delegates, so I know you don't want to stick around for that.
Well, thanks for having us.
Thank you. I look forward to it.
All right. Take care.
I wish I could hug you, Regina.
No.
Oh. Bye-bye.
Bye. Thanks so much, Regina, for bringing those wonderful business owners on.
Yeah, that's beautiful. I can't wait to eat.
Yes.
I love to eat.
So, Regina, Delegate Boyce, you're on mute. Okay. So we wanted to talk to, I guess, one of the big topics, I guess, talk about your experience, I guess, being a freshman delegate. Any experiences you want to talk about? And then, if the viewers have any questions about unemployment, I did get in a few questions in our email that I wanted to ask. And I know that's something you've been, working on. But let's get into your first 3 years. Anything significant? Any bills that you want to talk about? What you've been involved in?
So it has been a trial by bomb. It's been interesting because while I love it and I love the nuance of just having so much information in my committee and learning new things, like, our first session, committee session, we always have, I'm on the Environment and Transportation Committee. And so we have like a state of the Bay or the state of and I remember being in committee with my colleagues and being like, what is this? They were using terms that we didn't understand. We're texting each other. And it's like, okay, who gonna pull the trigger? It's like, I'm gonna pull the trigger because I just can't. What is, this terminology or that terminology when we're talking about either the bay or seagrass or, oysters and how they come about and how they spread or not spread and why is it so important? And it's just like, but also not being afraid to ask those questions, but also looking like very good and strong leaders, because it's like, they're willing to ask. And of course, the first session was great, but of course, the first session, the speaker died and we had to get a new speaker, right? And we elected the most competent, the most qualified, and not just a Black woman, but I always try to tell people a competent and experienced and qualified Black woman, right? Like she's just not a Black woman. And she has been amazing. Yeah, the second year we had COVID. So for all of us newbies who finally put in legislation, we watched all of our legislation pass in the House and then essentially die because we closed session early for the first time since the Civil War. And then we had to deal with COVID. And then now year 3, we are literally in a virtual session. Nobody is on campus. So there's no lobbyists. There's no advocates. There's nobody in person doing any testimony. Everything is virtual except for the floor session. It's just like, okay, Lord, trial by trial. And now we're going into our last year of our first term with a couple of things, right? We have redistricting and we have re-election. And redistricting is going to be a fight because now we're also campaigning for also a new governor. Who would that governor be? And what our next 4 years looks like as a state is going to unfortunately depend on who our governor will be. And that's just fact. So it's been great. It's been great getting to know my city colleagues. It's been great to get to know my committee colleagues, but most importantly, the whole General Assembly, because people seem to think you get this job and then you just go in and it's like, well, you ain't put out enough bills. Well, okay, I can put out 20 bills, okay? Once I let go of that bill to whatever committee it goes to, it is submitted to a process. I can advocate, I can get my, advocates to advocate, I can get lobbyists to advocate, but essentially it is in the hands of the process. And for some people, they may get 20 after a lot of renegotiations. And for some, you get none, right? But it also depends on how much work I did in the interim. Did I put through a well thought out bill? Did the bill drafters correctly draft the bill? And most importantly, who are my colleagues? Like, what are my relationships with my colleagues to be able to help push it through to the finish line? And if you don't have friends, if you don't know how to professionally work with people, even if they get on your nerves, or they do things that are, they have the type of reputation that maybe you don't want to be associated with it. The reality is, who doesn't have a person at work that don't get on their nerves, right? Like, this is a professional, and so you have to know the process, but you also are managing and massaging relationships at the same time. And so it's been the most incredible lesson, but most amazing message, because where I was last summer? On a boat in Rock Hall with some of my committee members, but our Republican colleague. We fight about a lot of things, but he opened himself up to relationship like we all do, and was like, okay, who's coming on my boat fishing? And so we go fishing. Now, does that mean that we, he gonna say something in committee that might get him, in some trouble and yelled at by the rest of us? No, but it means I have a little bit more of an understanding of where that comes from, why that comes from, because I know who he is now, right? And so I can better counter, right? Because at the end of the day, I still have to maintain my professionalism, and I still got to get bills through, whether they're my bills or my colleagues' bills or whoever's bills. So it's been an adventure. You asked about that my sound is in and out. I'm sorry. I was then asked, because I wanted to really learn the process, and Shirley Nathan Pulliam pulled me aside and said, Lord, what is she going to ask me to do? Heritage Month in Maryland. And I said, okay, we can do that. That's easy. Celebratory bills don't get through, and it got through. And so every August now in Maryland, we celebrate Caribbean Heritage Month because we have a very large Caribbean population, and especially in the DMV area. So I was proud to do that. Of course, second session, anything I put through died. So it didn't even matter. So I had to start from scratch again, put through 10 bills, 2 passed. One is the Bereavement Act, and essentially it just puts bereavement in the books as an allowable use, which is it's you may get it through your job. Technically, it is not an allowable use, if that makes sense. The second bill was I am working to enhance quote unquote urban agriculture in our city, and repealed a tax that said that if for some reason the tax is not being used as it should, or it's you have to pay back taxes in the rears in full. And I don't know any other tax credit where you have to pay back the city. So we repealed that and said, if someone gets this urban tax credit and then it doesn't work out, got the wrong source, it is lose credit. You don't have to pay in full, because the people that's hurting are essentially Black and brown individuals who are trying to do startup. And one of the barriers is like, I got to pay back potential money if this doesn't work out, or so on and so forth. So we repealed that and looking to do a lot more changes that are creating barriers to, like I say, return really a lot of to which it was, because it was all farmland to begin with.
That's interesting. Wow. I never knew that you would have to, wow. So like a lot of that goes for a lot of the pop farms that we see. Wow. So they have to pay the taxes back if it doesn't work out. That's wild. Wow.
Yeah. In full, as if you didn't have the tax. So it's just like, who wants to do that? And then you're already cash strapped. So we're putting people in essentially kind of poverty. We're taking money from them that they don't have. It's silly. Right. I also introduced allow the city to reduce its taxes.
So allow the city to reduce its what? I'm sorry, we didn't hear that part.
Did you say taxes?
To reduce its taxes. It's residential taxes. I put it through a bill that would allow the city to have different tax is for different classification of property. So for instance, residential tax differently than commercial property versus industrial property versus vacant or blighted property, depending on how many classifications of property they have on the books. And
right, I believe
let's just say
DC.
I'm putting it again.
Yeah, well, I mean, but DC did that because I remember I had a house on Farragut, not that far from Howard University. And it might have went vacant. I had to board it up, you know, and next thing you know, they were hitting me. I was like, what? Wait a minute, this house is livable. Let me take these boards off.
Yep. Yep. $5 per $100 cess for
I got hit
vacant
for like
property and
$15,000. Yes.
Yep.
Crazy.
Yep.
Wow.
Yep.
Okay.
But they also have the lowest taxes for their residents in the area. So
essentially, you're trying to lower the taxes for the residents and maybe increase for the vacant, which makes sense.
Give the city the tool to do so, right? And so it is successful not only in DC, it's been successful all over the place. And I think the fear is that it sets a precedent. And it's just like, if we're supposed to be a blue state, you know, our job is to set precedences and allow jurisdictions to govern and to be able to tax its residents in a way that is going to be equitable, but also not bring in the most money. Because when you think about our tax rate, it's the highest in the state. And we also have the highest poverty rate, right? And when you look at DC, right, and you look at, for instance, like a Montgomery County, they have one of the lowest tax rates, and they also have the lowest instance of poverty. And so when you think about all the credits and amenities we get just to manage 2.264%, imagine if we could lower it, and imagine if we could then not necessarily have to have those incentives, because the property tax is low enough where everybody can afford. That means the city's getting 100% of its money, because as it stands now, I've been in my house 17 years this month, right? At 2.264% over 17 years. If my house is worth, I don't know, $94,000, I don't know what it is, the city is not necessarily getting $94,000 worth of its tax. It's getting whatever incentive I have to not pay so much. So nobody's really actually paying the real cost of their property. But imagine if everybody could, because the rate is lower. And what does that look like when we talk about the generation of fees? What does that look like when we talk about services and people's ability or inability to pay their taxes? Like, it's a game changer.
Right. And maybe a lot less tax liens and tax sales and things of that nature. Yes. Great.
Exactly.
So thank you. We'll have to look into that and definitely try to follow that bill. So in the last few minutes, we do definitely, I mean, unemployment is a huge issue. And I know you're very we're very well versed on it. And we know that Governor Hogan recently decided not to extend as of, I guess, July 4th. People will have to, you know, go out and file and look for jobs and have to show that they've been looking for a job, unlike before. And it's not going to extend the additional extension time for COVID. So he's declined to do that. And I know that a lot of the delegates have been pushing back on that, including you. And then I think Wednesday it came out that they found a lot of, you know, I forget how much fraud as of May, fraudulent unemployment.
500,000 potential fraudulent cases.
Right. So that is his reason.
And I hate
people to go back to work, but a lot of the business owners are saying, yeah, they have a lot of vacant positions. People are quitting. People are not coming back to work, but also they're saying that they don't have qualified candidates, which, so what do you say to all of this and talk us through what you're doing and your thoughts on unemployment?
So, you know, we're the legislative body of the government. We, you know, it is our job to hold the executive accountable and to ensure that the budget is balanced. And so we are holding the executive accountable. What's upsetting about that potentially 500,000 fraudulent cases, what it also means that you potentially have 500,000 people who don't have a fraudulent case and therefore need the money that they're entitled to, because like most of us here, you've paid into an unemployment system. At least I know I have since I was 16 years old. And can you imagine in a pandemic, 100 years from the Spanish flu, not having a job, right? Because of a state of emergency, not having a job to go back to because your job doesn't exist. You're at home taking care of your kids because they're at home on devices that you don't have, that now that you have to get. You still have to eat. The bills are piling up. And there is a certain group of people that somehow people are like, well, I'm just going to be home and collect this. It says a couple kept a very slave mentality when we talk about the labor force, right? We want more for less. And so this pandemic has shown us is that we don't pay people enough. So if I can be home taking care of my family because nobody else is going to, daycare is not open for them to go to take care of my family on an insurance that I paid into. Why shouldn't I? Why shouldn't I? People want to work. Let's be clear. The emails that I get every day since March of 2020, people want to they want to work. People want to be paid what they're worth, right? So this is the exposure of finally, now you see all these, I got a thing in my mailbox on, we're hiring $18 to $20 an hour plus potential benefits. People want to be paid what they're worth, and what they're worth is something that is equatable and equitable to our economy. You can't keep paying people slave wages and then get mad when they can't stay in their home, right? So this is all, well, people have to go back to work, but you haven't thought about the people who can't go back to work because there's no work to go back to, right? So there's this feeling or this thought for the administration that by not accepting the federal money, which we don't have to pay it back, it's free to us to help our residents and our businesses. By not taking that money, he will somehow cut out the fraud, and then people will decide all of a sudden, oh, well, I'm just going to go back to work now. I mean, when you've had money, when you've never heard about the lights, I guess that's what you think. But that's not true. People are going to still collect what they can collect, and they're going to go out here and see if they can get a job, and maybe get a job at one of these places that have decided now that $15 and $18 and $20 an hour is more of a strong and economical wage than $13 and $10 an hour to do jobs with people who have degrees and should be getting 10 times more, right? And so we're going to keep pushing back. We're going to keep pushing back. And we're going to, at some point there, I get emails from constituents, people who have not gotten their services, class action suit. They're going to sue the state. They should.
To me, it just seemed like, the fraud could have been prevented, because I know, like, at my location where we receive a lot of mail, we even posted, like, on our Instagram, the different cards that came in from DLLR. And I mean, I have a significant history in, investigation of fraud and a lot of things, but mostly in the healthcare industry.
Right.
A lot of things could have been put into place to prevent.
Right.
And like I flagged it because, number one, when people would request to have these things forwarded to other addresses, that was flag number one for me. Because we know unemployment, and I would post it on my Instagram, like, hey, don't do it here. I don't care where you do it, but don't do it here. But I think that that's where he needs to go back to, not necessarily stopping unemployment as it is 100%, with the extra incentive, well, not incentive, but the extra money for people. He needs to get to the point of the compliance, because where there is obviously some compliance issues that need to be addressed and can be corrected. I mean, some of the errors, I mean, you're sending them to mailbox centers when all you have to do is go to Google. These are Google Maps.
It's common sense.
And you could see, so a lot of things could have been put into place.
Right. So it seems like the administration just failed to put preventative measures in place. And now the people that need the unemployment aren't going to get it. And we know
I
people
think the
that
issue
have not
is that
received
they haven't geared up for this, right? Like, you knew this was coming. You had a state of emergency where you shut down jobs. Of course, people are going to get the services. So you should have geared up. And then they switch systems. But tomorrow, we talked about this. There are people to date applied who, for all intents, have been awarded and to date have not received a payment, because here's the fraud in the fraud, right? We talk. I live here in Waverly, and I moved. So when I filed my moving address, my address where I've moved. I need to prove my ID. My identification, no problem. I send you my identification. My identification has my old address. It's flagged and it goes to adjudication. That's not a reason to hold somebody's paycheck up for 8 months, 9 months, 10 months, but that is what's happening. So of that 500,000, how many of those are just that? See, there's fraud in the fraud. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Go look it up. Can you please provide your change of address of card? And we have real ID. So how come you're not linked, right, to the MVA to help also verify, right? Because you don't want to. Okay, let's be clear. If you really wanted to give people their money, nobody should be held up because of an address difference if everything else is the same. It's a simple question. Have it straightened out and then move on. But people for 8 and 9, 10 months, and we talked about this, suppose people don't have a support system or a spouse that can carry the weight. So we put somebody in dire straits for 8 months, 8 months, 9 months, 10 months. Okay, sorry. There's fraud in the fraud. Okay.
Yeah, you can't call unemployment. There's so many complaints. You can't get anyone on the line. So it definitely is an issue.
Nope.
Definitely a huge issue in the state. So we're really glad that you're in Annapolis trying to fight for that, though I don't know, the governor's made a decision. So is that the end of it? Has the decision been made and there's no
the end of it, but then there's do we call our federal partners and get them investigated, right? Is it time to investigate our system? Because if nobody else is having these problems like we are in the state of Maryland, it's time for an investigation. Investigate.
Absolutely.
We need an audit. I don't want another, while they're important, I don't want another hearing to talk to the secretary who's going to give me the same dumb deer headlights look and pass it off to somebody else. You get to go to a house that you don't have to worry about lights being on, or you don't have to worry about if there's food in the refrigerator. If that is not your job as somebody who works for the state or the legislator or the executive of the state to ensure that everybody in this state is taken care of, leave your job. Leave your job. Because that's what we should be doing at this time. And in a pandemic, we should have been, system has fraud. I'm not saying it's right, but to people's ability to be able to pay. So then you're exhausting other services by not giving somebody what they are entitled to.
Absolutely. 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 Definitely.
And it's hard.
Yeah. Yes, absolutely.
It's hard. And, I'm a legislator, so it's like my hands are tied in that, like, if I was in the executive, I'd be running rampant and trying to figure it out. I mean, at one point, I called them last year and was like, look, you've got like about 10 good legislators right now that says they will be willing to learn the system, to figure this out. I will work part-time. You don't have to pay me to be able to just get through this. And they were like, no, we're hiring people. You said you've hired more people, and yet nothing has been done. Nobody still answers the phone. There's a whole Facebook website about people who together, it's about 600 or so people, help navigating the system so people can get their benefits. It's pathetic. It's pathetic.
And again, this is benefits that people have paid into. So that's coming out of your check, and that is when they were working. Yeah. Yeah. So, and the argument that employers don't have qualified people, and whoever's watching in the audience, if you own a company, if you know someone that's running a company, here's what I'm challenging people to do, because we know that there's already a gap in equity. We're seeing that, and we're trying to work on that nationwide. So maybe it's not 15 years of experience you need. Maybe you can settle for someone that has 5. I mean, you'd be amazed if you don't need a license to do the work, or if you don't need, a doctor's license to cut into someone. I mean, if it's a job in an office, chances are anyone can do it. I mean, that's just woo. So give someone an opportunity that may not have had that opportunity. We're looking at the resume, we're saying 20, 30 years. How do you know it's 30 years of experience you need? How do you know someone with 2 years of experience can't come in and do the same thing? So I'm challenging employers to not complain, to say they can't fill jobs, and stop setting these criteria and just give people an opportunity, because we already know more people don't have the 15 or 20 years of experience because of a general lack of opportunity. So why don't you try something different and perhaps hire someone with 2 to 3 years of experience and build that experience in someone. I mean, you'd be surprised. Anyone can do just about anything if given the opportunity. And that's what we're missing here.
Yeah, we got to talk about transferable skills. I mean, that's what workforce development is about. Like, no, they don't have 30 years, but they've had 5 years kind of doing the same thing, or they've got some, you know what I mean? We don't look for those transferable skills. That's what workforce is about. And again, if you got somebody knocking on your door, willing to work, knowing they don't have 100% qualification, that's the person you want. You want
to work 10 times harder. I think the person that's done it for 30 years is a bit complacent at times, and perhaps that person with the 2 years experience is going to work a little bit harder. So again, I'm challenging everybody to kind of think outside of the box at a time like this. You're taking someone off of unemployment. You're helping somebody that needs it, and I guarantee it'll probably be the best employee that you've had, because they're going to work so much harder for that opportunity. So I just wanted to make sure I got that out there, because I read that and I said, how could these business owners say people aren't qualified? If you don't need a license to do it, people are qualified.
Hire them.
Exactly.
Yep.
Just hire people. Try it out. Nicole, do you have any more questions for Delegate?
No, I'm gonna come down there and eat in her district. And you're always welcome to come and visit us over there in West Baltimore. And it's a shame I don't know what district I'm in besides District 9. It's a shame, but that's not my home. So it's kind of, I
won't hold it against you, sister. I won't hold it against you, sister. Not at all. Not at all.
Right. So
it's a learning and growing game.
Yeah. Where we're speaking of jobs like you did, dedicate 100% of your time to being a delegate. You had a job, and that is a part-time job for most. But in the last few minutes, just talk about what made you decide, like, you know what, this is what I'm going to do full time versus holding on to my career or my other job.
Well, I mean, thanks for asking that, Tamara. It's like the integrity piece for me. Like, it got to the point. And it was that year the speaker had died. And then it's like, like any new job, it's a whirlwind. And, I was going back to a job in a nonprofit doing work that I really loved, and had gotten it to a place where I had the right work-life balance. I had given my staff the right workforce balance, kind of work-life balance. But I couldn't take it on myself because I was so burnt out. And it ended up being that I didn't feel effective in either one. Like, I was kind of going between two of them. And so I couldn't fully be present in one and also fully be present in the other, I'd be missing something in the delegate world because I'm at work, right? And so it's just like this, I feel like I'm already on the better. Like, if I can't make community meetings because I'm too tired because I've worked all day or this or that, or it's like I'm already losing. I'm already behind the curve. And so, and also as Black women, we don't take care of ourselves, right? I think Michelle put it correctly, as we put our head down and we just keep pushing and we keep pushing until I push myself into what? Death. I die and they're going to clean my desk and hire somebody else. I was sick, physically tired. I had health issues, and it was like I was working on, they say you're working on fumes. I don't even think it was fumes that I was working. I made a very hard decision to leave a job that I really loved, where I was burnt out from, and just said, you know what? The pay is the pay, and I will make it work and I will budget, but I can be fully participatory in this is a job, right? Like I was elected by the district, right, to represent them, and I need to represent them, which means I need to be able to be accessible, but I also need to be in the point where I am now, where sometimes I'm overbooked. Like I can't even make everything because I'm everywhere sometimes, most times, but also still practicing that work-life balance, knowing that if I can't take care of me, I can't fight for you. And so that's kind of what made me make that decision.
Okay. And I'd be remiss if I didn't ask. I mean, we're going to go a few minutes over to ask, as far as like
Sure.
Baltimore City, we have a new administration. What are your thoughts on the first, I guess, few hundred days? I don't know what number we're at now. And, the violence is out of control. No one has one solution for it, but what
Absolutely.
Retrospective, looking and knowing what you know, and you have worked in City Hall before. What are your thoughts on what we could be doing better, and to end it, what's not working? And then I always like to hear, what do you think is working, if anything, in this city?
So it seems like the reception is better when the both of you are not on mute. I don't know why.
Okay, let me take mine off.
It's very weird. I just noticed like everything's like better. So yeah, that's right. We can all be talking at the same time. So here's what I said. The city has chosen who they want to lead them. That's great. I'm with it, right? Like I'm elected as well. So got 3 Native Sons of Baltimore in charge. We've got a Black commissioner. My thing is I am betting on Black, and I'm betting on the people in charge until they tell me not to bet on them. Okay. Move that aside. We have a lot of problems. And on one hand, we can't treat them as if there's just one panacea solution and that somehow we haven't injected it, because then tomorrow's going to be a brighter day. We have a history and a legacy of issues that have compounded on themselves. I mean, so much so we're under 2 consent decrees in this city, one for our sewer and water and one for our police, right? Like we're a city that is innovative.
Sorry, go ahead.
Girl, I know. But, we're innovative, but we don't maintain well, right? We don't, and so that's where we're suffering, right? And so people talk about the police department, defund the police department. Look, the police department hasn't run properly for 50 years. It doesn't change overnight, but we have, this past session, put forth a product, whether people like it or love it or hate it. We've put forth something like no other, because of our leadership in Speaker Adrian Jones, that at least is a step off, right? We've got something in place to actually to work from and grow from. I think, and I hate to say this because I am an elected official, but Tamara knows me well. I'm not I'm not a politician per se. I like to think of myself as a public service. I like to think of myself as someone who is diplomatic and professional and wants to be transparent and honest and be like, this is just what it is. But in saying that, acknowledging our problems and moving forward, I think we have to start removing the politics from what we need, having some very serious and honest conversations about where we've come from and where we are and where we need to go. So of course that means hiring the best, no matter where they come from, whether they're within the department or if they come from Kalamazoo, we've got to have the best at the best to turn this around. We have a lot of cleanup to do, whether it's internally about, systems that don't work. We don't even have the technology sometimes. So we need technology to make things work. We need processes and systems. You know how many times people, lobbyists, associations come to me, say they want to work with the city, especially in the transportation department, but the department is so messed up and it takes ages again to be paid for work that you've done. I want to work because I know I can do the job that the city needs, but I know I'm also not going to get paid in a timely manner. So why is that, right? And so we have to have hard conversations, got to get out of our feelings. We have to raise the standard. We got to put our head down. We got to roll up our sleeves and we have to do the work. And while it takes consensus building and it takes trust and massaging a lot of community, there's sometimes as an executive, and most of us who've been in leadership know this, and sometimes you just have to make a decision and you have to move forward because no matter what you do, somebody's not going to like it. It's just the way it works. And we have to move it forward. You talk about failed policies and systems in the city is because no one has let anything run its full course to find out if it even ever works. And so somebody comes in, oh, Nicole comes in and she's new and she's this, well, she doesn't like this, and then it goes away. Then we say that system was failed, but that system wasn't allowed to work itself through its full course to know if it works or not. So then we start something new. And then Tamara comes in and she doesn't like what Nicole's done. And so she throws Nicole's work out the window and we start again versus evaluating what works and doesn't work. What can we work with? And what pretty much do we have to turn over on its head and evaluate? And it takes nuances in our systems. It takes nuances in our technology. It's putting ego aside and it's just calling a spade sometimes. We are a violent city right now. And why is that? Is it because the standard is low or because our two agencies can't talk enough to get things done? The city, I don't care what you think about the Baltimore City right now, police department, they have a 51% clearance rate right now. 51%. I follow them on social media. Every 5 minutes, they're taking down somebody or taking down a group or they're snatching stuff off the street. But now what happens when it goes across the street? That's where it's like, where are our relationships? What are we doing? If we really love and believe in this city, we've got to work together. I don't need my name in the paper. I don't need the glory. I just want to be able to say, and a lot of my friends and people that I know are saying, Regina, I'm tired. And they have left the city. And we're talking about good people, right? But the thing is, we're also, more people are coming into this city at the same time. And so maybe it will shift, but we've got to raise the standard. We've got to let people do their jobs. We've got to work together. And we just have to admit that we have a lot of faults, and we do, from no fault of our own, right? We can't blame this administration or that administration. It just is what it is. And we've got to move forward to get it done. We just got to get it forward and get it done. And that's kind of where I am. I just want to do whatever it is that I can do within my legislative power as a state delegate to get to where we need to be. And so some of the things I'm going to be working on this session is, dignity and care. We have an opioid epidemic, but is it all really happening in Baltimore City? Right? And how are we making sure people are getting care with dignity and respect? And if you don't wait outside for your prescriptions, neither should somebody else, right? Dignity and care and quality of care, right? And disbursement, right? Across the state. if we're saying this is a problem, people should be able to access their health care appropriately, right? Looking at our taxes, looking at other systems of I'm trying to get inhalers in school systems as rescue inhalers, because what's in school right now? Narcan for a drug overdose, right? And an EpiPen. But we have one of the highest asthma rates in the States, and we don't have emergency rescue inhalers. Do you know more kids are dying, because the first sign of asthma for most people is an asthma attack. That's how you know you have asthma. And some people don't return from that, right? And I think there was a question asked. I want to be respectful of the time and answer it, but I missed it.
Is politics really the answer? We have tried and keep getting rejected.
I don't know what that means, though. What is it? What do you mean by that?
What does he mean by that? There's a lack of trust in the politicians, and we've tried, and we've had administration after administration after administration, and haven't gotten anywhere as the Black majority in this city. So I think the question is we can't really depend on the politicians to make any changes, because it's just rhetoric.
Well,
change. Yeah.
No, I agree with that. It's not my job to make change by myself either. And I think that's where we failed, is somehow it's all on my shoulders. It's on our shoulders. My job is to work with and convene people so that we get it done together. Because if I want to continue to take on this notion that somehow it's me and I'm supposed to do it all, well, guess what? I'm going to fail every time. And I think that's what's also happened in the past. We're so quick to reject, well, they did this and they did that. Well, I don't really care who did what. We got something before us right now that we have to take care of. And if being an elected official is kind of in the same category as you being, an engineer or a doctor or a mechanic, then, we have to have a conversation, right? Because, we have to have a conversation, because it's work. This is work. I mean, to anybody who's watching, this is work. This is not pretty. It's not glamorous. Last year I spent a lot of time crying because of the emails that I was getting from UI folks that I could not do anything about, because I'm a doer. If I got to march down somewhere, I will get it done some way or somehow. And the fact that I couldn't physically be able to push a button and make sure somebody got a paycheck was painful for me, right? So this job is hard for anybody who thinks it's glamorous. It is hard. It is very
hard for those that care, and not all representatives care. And I don't know, we kind of have some things in common. I don't know why. We just sound kind of similar there.
I know why we have things in common.
Yeah. Well, So I guess the last question, so you have to work with that executive and hold that executive accountable.
Hold them accountable. I mean, that's what we do.
What would you like to see in the next governor?
And everybody's calling me because somehow
not a name, just what characteristics, what would you like to see?
I know. I think they need to be somebody who even if you haven't walked a certain lifestyle or have a certain upbringing, you need to be sensitive enough to have a bottom up an executive, right? We have to be able to, take care of everybody, not just your business friends, not just, somebody on this place, not dogging Baltimore, who we call as a gem in one breath and tear down in the next breath. What governor is really going to make us a quote unquote, I don't even like using this word, progressive, right? We're progressive in word, but we are not progressive in action. When we think about what other people are doing,
what other states are doing,
20 years behind. We are 20 years behind places like Virginia, who have figured out aquaculture and is thriving, and we're still wondering why we can't get it done. We are behind. We are not blue. I think we're I don't know, sky blue or something.
Wow, You hear this from me out of my mouth all the time. I don't know what.
And
we
that's
so we
scary to
need
be behind
we need to
Virginia.
live
That's
up
south.
to. Yeah, I mean, we don't need to live up to. Yes, I'm a member of the Democratic Party. We don't need to live up to ideals of a party. We need to live up to the ideals of the people in this city and this state based on what they need, what will have us grow, and what brings everybody up, right? Like what brings everybody up. You know what I mean? And if that's not what we're doing, you know, bringing up those, I mean, that's when we talk about equity. Equity and equality are not the same things. How are we instituting equity in everything we do so everybody comes up, right? And the chips will fall where they fall, right? You know, if, you know, Nicole decides she don't want some of this equity or she doesn't want, like, at least she has opportunity to make
That's
the
right.
choice. If we don't have even the opportunities, you know, tell Donnie stop playing with me. French Hill, Perez, Baker, Moore.
Yeah,
Like,
it is all about.
I'd like to see a woman in the race. That's what I'd like to see. But that's another story, another
We're
day.
also behind
you know,
there. We are behind there. No women in the. I mean, we're behind.
Didn't we-
Everybody surrounding us is moving forward.
there's one
wasn't
woman,
it-
but
it
she's
was
a
a woman.
Republican woman. There's Kelly Schwartz. She's currently the Secretary of Commerce. So she put her head out, and if we don't be careful, we'll end up with another Republican governor. So the men are going to have to make a decision about who will be best, right? You know, less of an entree of Democratic candidates, and we'll see.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time. I know you are very, very busy, and we are very thankful that you took time to talk to us.
I'm never too busy for you guys. So thank you so much. This was amazing.
Yes, lots of information. So, you know, thank you again so much for your time. Your business owners, I'm actually going to go get a bagel this week because my husband loves bagels. So I'm going to try bottoms up bagel sandwiches. And then I'm going to try.
Good.
Yeah, and I'm definitely going to try the food. Get
They
some
make a
pizza.
sriracha like cream cheese or something. I'm telling y'all.
Oh, okay, we're going to try it. Nicole, want to take us
And then
out?
I have to visit Nicole on the west. Maybe we go to, like, you know, only thing I know on the west side is like Montego Bay, the Caribbean spot, because that's the only place I'm allowed to eat from if it's not my mama or grandmama. So
Okay. Well,
All right.
We're gonna make it a date. So this
Promise.
has been wonderful. We had some beautiful ladies tonight, and I mean, just doing business in Baltimore, while it's challenging, it can be beautiful. We have to remember, you know, the reason that we put our businesses in these locations, and it is for the community. I have to remind myself, even, you know, through the violence and things like that, we still get up and we still come because we love the people that we serve. So I remind myself, and I give myself a pep talk every day, you know, and
we all do.
Call me if you need a pep talk too, because I got it down pat. And just staying focused. And I just want to mention those two beautiful ladies that were here. And I'm really just trying to get my life together today because I found out one of my friends, her son was killed, but it was here in Southern.
Wow.
Yeah, so I'm still dealing with that. So I'm a little off tonight. Yeah, so I'm just trying to, you know, kind of keep it together.
Let it out. Like, let's not pretend. Here we go. Let's not pretend.
I know, but I'm here. It is. And my heart goes out to her. It's a pain that I, you know, as a mother of young boys, I don't want anyone to ever, you know, have to, you know, feel that. So any parents that have lost a child to gun violence or any type of violence, my heart, you know, goes out to them. But I want to definitely celebrate Michelle, Bottoms Up Bagels, and our other beautiful lady. It was called, tell me again.
Pepper's Kitchen.
Capar's Kitchen.
Capar's Kitchen. See, I didn't want to mess the name up because I was going to say like Capar's Kitchen. So and you have to make appointments with her. And of course, we have the beautiful delegate, Miss Regina Boyce. So we've learned so much. My co-host, Tamara, Nicole from ANC. Give me a call. You need that pep talk. We all need one on occasion. So, and we are out of here. And of course, our host, don't forget, on the platform, Be More News. And he has his book out, I Am Black Wall Street. I know I'm Black Wall Street, and these are
Listen.
Black Wall Street ladies too. So everyone has their part. Let's play our part. Let's play our positions, and let's just keep it moving. We love you, Baltimore. So.
All right. Until next week. Thank you.
Yeah.